All right, guys, we figured that we would just share our coaching call with the community this week. We usually just reserve this for our clients, but I thought this would be a good one for everyone in the community to be able to learn from, because I know many of you are probably dealing with this afternoon slump, whether it's right after lunch, late morning, maybe right before you get off your shift from work. But we want to kind of just help you guys ask some questions for yourselves as to why you may be experiencing these and what you can do to overcome this. So, per usual, I'm going to share my screen because that's just how I roll and it keeps me on track. So, let me do that real quick for you guys. Okay, that's a lovely face pick right there, isn't it? Okay, so here we go. Um, So when we talk about the afternoon slump, it could either be weekends or while you're working throughout the week. More so when clients come to us and say, "Hey, I'm feeling really sluggish this week." It's usually relating around their work schedule. Weekends is a little different, whether they sleep in a little bit, they don't have as much stress going on with being off shift, whatever it may be. But this is more pertaining to the traditional work week, 9 to 5, and where we see a lot of clients having this afternoon slump. So some things that can cause the afternoon slump could be your caffeine intake, lack of sleep, increase in stress, mental fatigue, or carb loaded lunches. And I do have two clients that we actually went over this week. And I'll kind of give their symptoms and what we did to hopefully overcome this for them. So when we first talk about, let's go into caffeine intake. So if you are someone that drinks a lot of caffeine, and it just seems to be a lot more prevalent these days as opposed to even a few years ago with the increase in energy drinks and all the different flavors and all the different brands and all the different sales. And I've definitely have been someone that addicted is a strong word, but it was just more so habit. Like anytime I went to CrossFit, I would want an energy drink. Anytime I was on the road trip, I'd want an energy drink. Anytime I was doing errands around town, I'd want an energy drink. And I found myself drinking, two energy drinks a day on top of coffee in the morning. And when you look at it and break it down, all the caffeine that's going into your body, it is just being overloaded with it. And what happens is your body gets used to that amount. And unfortunately, you don't get the same effect. So it's literally like a drug addict. You're trying to get that same response. So you drink more in order to get that spike in energy. What I highly recommend doing, and I've done for myself, is weaning yourself off of it. So in the mornings, I don't even drink regular coffee. I do decaf. And I know all of you coffee addicts are probably going to come at me hard right now. But it really didn't change anything for me. Like for me, and they've actually done studies on this, having coffee in the morning is more so the habit of making your coffee and having something warm, and the smell of it, the taste of it, all of those things actually give you just as much energy as the actual caffeine itself in a morning cup. So I just suggest everyone trying to do decaf in the morning, just see if you notice a difference and come into it with a positive mindset and not trying to um, I guess, be the devil's advocate to it and already think it's not gonna work. 'Cause I think you'll be pleasantly surprised in how little caffeine you actually need to get through your day. Now, if you are someone that has a ton of caffeine throughout the day, you are gonna have to wean yourself off of it. I don't recommend going cold turkey. You can, but you're gonna experience a lot of different side effects, such as, headaches. Some people have some nausea, definitely an energy slump if your body's used to operating with a certain amount of caffeine in its body. But eventually your body's going to adapt, just like it does to our nutrition, just like it does to workouts. The body is super, super, super smart. So that's going to be my challenge for anyone that does have a higher caffeine intake, whether you're experiencing these afternoon slumps or not. It's just so much healthier to get rid of that extra caffeine that your body doesn't need, that we've kind of fallen into the trap of thinking it needs it. The next thing I want to talk about is sleep, which is, of course, one of the big things that we work with our clients on, to make sure they're getting enough sleep for recovery, for our hormones to function properly, for us to not be uh, angry people throughout the day. And I just want to talk about the power of power naps. So I know a lot of our schedules, whether we have kids at home or a crazy work day, it's hard to get these power naps in. But we'll get into it later in this workshop. But even just taking, 5 to 10 minutes on your lunch break and closing your eyes, sitting in a dark room, going out into your car and putting on some, softer music and just resting your eyes. Like all those things can be very helpful if you didn't get a good night's sleep the night before. So utilize sleep the best you can, of course, in the night, but then if you do have time to take just a quick nap during the day, do your best to do it. I'm not someone that naps a lot, but sometimes I force myself to, as much as I hate it, because I think it's just a waste of time. And I know it's not a waste of time. Obviously, I need to practice what I preach because there is so much power to it. But I'm always afraid, like, I'm missing out on something or should be something different, do something different. But at the end of the day, like, there isn't anything more important than our own bodies. And we're going to be so much more productive. We're going to be so much more happy and energized and positive. Like all these things come out of just taking a quick nap, even if we don't want to. So we also treat ourselves like children sometimes and force ourselves to go take a nap. The other thing that can kind of cause these afternoon slump is stress. So stress is huge, huge, huge. It is the thing that sparks the fight or flight response. So what happens is when you get these stress indicators that your body needs to handle, your adrenals actually pump out these hormones that they call the fight or flight response. And what happens is your body literally gets physically exhausted from these hormones going through your body. And so if you have a stressful work environment, or maybe your home life is kind of stressful right now, when you wake up, that's the first thing you deal with before you even go to work. Those things are really going to play a part in this afternoon slump. And there's certain things that we can't control. Whether it's certain people at work that we can't avoid, we have to deal with them. We just have to do the best we can. But if there are certain things that if you approached it and handled it and hopefully get some clarity or some changes, I highly recommend doing that instead of always just kind of sweeping it under the rug, pretending it's not there. And if you can, like, remove yourself from certain situations as well. If you need to kind of distance yourself from certain coworkers if they're constantly negative, or whatever it may be, just be your own advocate for creating the most stress-free environment that you can. And hopefully this will help with those afternoon slumps of that physical exhaustion from this fight or flight response. The other one is mental fatigue. So one of my clients, in her check-in, she said, every day I feel like middle of the afternoon, I just am so tired. Like I could just close my eyes and go to sleep. And we went through all of these different things that I'm talking about. And then one of the ones that I brought up, and I was like, well, do you take a lunch break? And she's like, no, not really. I usually just eat at my desk. Because she likes to shorten up her work day. So she quit taking lunches so she can get out earlier and go be home with her family. And her challenge this week was to actually take a lunch break for herself. And there's pros and cons to it. And how I looked at it with her is, if you take 20 minutes to yourself at lunch, you're going to have such a more positive afternoon for yourself during work. You're going to be more productive at work. You're not going to feel like you can't focus on anything, but you're also going to go home a better person. You're going to go home a better mother, a better wife, and be more present with your family by just taking that time for yourself throughout the day. And there is power in spending time with people, but even more so, it's the quality of the time, not the quantity of time. And if you're not present with your family and you're in a bad mood or tired when you get off work, I would rather spend 20 minutes less with someone and have it be more intimate and personable than having an extra 20 minutes where we're fighting or I'm annoyed and irritated because I'm irritable from not getting enough checkout from work during the day. So that was her challenge this week, was to go for a walk, go to a coffee shop, just remove herself from the environment of work, get up from her desk, and just take some time for herself and check out from work in the middle of the day. And hopefully when she comes back, she's able to focus back in on work, get the job that she needs done, and then go home and spend time with her family. And then the last one that I want to talk about is actually, again, from a client check-in, and she kind of had the same thing, except hers was experiencing this fatigue directly after lunch. And again, I went through all of these different scenarios. I asked about her caffeine intake, if she's working out in the mornings versus afternoons, like all these different things to kind of pinpoint what may be causing these slumps. And when I went to look at her food diary, which I will show you guys here, let's go to a certain day that I saw. So what I like to look at is how much carbs are being put in at lunch. Because typically, if you're not someone that is a physical labor job, you're sitting at a desk. My client here is a massage therapist, so she is on her feet and there is some physical work, but I don't think it's enough to recommend a more higher carb lunch, just because what happens is those blood sugars are gonna spike, and then if you're not utilizing those, it's gonna really just go back down, and that's where you're gonna feel that crash and that fatigue, because your body got this super high and it's not at more of a baseline. So now you're gonna feel that slump come back down. So what we're gonna do this week is either split her lunches up into two smaller meals, or just lower the amount of carbs during lunch and switch them around, maybe closer to her workout, or even before bed. And I know there's a big myth on, you can't have carbs before bed, but honestly, like, I always use the 24-hour window when it comes to macro tracking. I've done my bodybuilding shows. I've gotten super lean, and I've ate carbs before bed, and that's not what the issue is. So don't be afraid to rearrange your carb intake throughout the day as it fits for you, and not fear them at certain times a day unless there's negative side effects that are coming, such as a carb heavy lunch like it was for this client. So hopefully, between my two clients and what we kind of narrowed down, that they're able to see a difference in their energy levels throughout the day. So that's really all I have for you guys today. Again, this is usually our coaching call that we do with our clients, but I thought that this would be really good to have our community be able to see as well. So with that said, I will leave you guys to the day. And if you have any questions, go ahead and comment them below here. If you are watching live, it would be awesome if you would just comment below live, or if you're watching the replay in the comments as well, just so we can see who is watching as we're doing these and who follows up. And these will also be posted to YouTube and Spotify as well if you want to go back and look at them. Hope you guys all have a great day, and we will chat soon.